Hello, everyone. My name is Jim Brakebill, an adjunct faculty member assigned to the Administration of Justice and Fire Technology Division at Rio Hondo College. Today, I'm going to demonstrate how to effectively use TaskStream to input and manage your student learning outcomes assessment and findings. Student learning outcomes are vital as they provide a clear framework for what we expect students to learn and achieve during their studies. These outcomes help in guiding our instructional strategies and assessing the effectiveness of our teaching methodologies. Accurate data input of these assessments into TaskStream is crucial as it ensures that we have reliable information to enhance our programs and support student success. It's important to submit your SLOs by their due dates to maintain a systematic approach to the improvement and to meet accreditation requirements. The timely submission and evaluation of SLOs benefit not only our students by ensuring a high-quality educational experience, but also our faculty, as they can clearly identify areas for curriculum enhancement. To begin, ensure you have access credentials for TaskStream. Once logged in, navigate to the SLO section and locate your class data. Open the respective entries and carefully input your assessment data following the guided prompts. For any further assistance, feel free to reach out. Let's work together to maintain the excellence of our educational standards for the benefit of all of our stakeholders, primarily our students, but also our institution as a whole. So now I'm going to show you how to access TaskStream and input your SLO data. We will begin on the home page of the Rio Hondo website. So what we're going to do is we're going to go to the top of the home page and we're going to click on Access Rio. When we click on Access Rio, it's going to ask us for our username and password. So I'm going to enter this and it's going to take me to the home page of Access Rio. Once I'm on the home page, I'm going to go over to the extreme left-hand side and find the faculty box. And I'm going to click on that, and it's a quick link to the faculty page in Access Rio. Once I get to this page, I'm going to scroll all the way down until I find the TaskStream box, and it's located at the bottom in the center. So I'm going to click on right here, the TaskStream box, and it's going to take me to the TaskStream username and password login. Once again, my username and password, and I'm going to log in. And it's going to take me to my home page. Now on your home page, you're going to find your workspace. Your workspaces are listed right here, and these are all the workspaces of the courses that you will be granted access to. So in my particular case, I'm going to start an assessment on my fire behavior class, which is known as Fire Tech 103. So I scroll down my workspace until I find Fire Tech 103, and here it is. And what I'm going to do next is I'm going to click on my course outcomes workspace. And here is my workspace. Once you get to your workspace, I want you to go over to the left and pay attention to the course outcomes measure and findings located right here. So the first thing I want to do to begin inputting my SLO data is my measure. So in order for me to input my measure, what I'm going to have to do is I'm going to have to check out my page. So I check it out, and once I check out, I'll see all of the SLO assessments that were done by instructors in the previous semesters. So the next thing I'm going to do is I want to go back up to the top, and I want to put Add New Measure. All right, so here I am. The next thing I want to do is I want to go up here in this area where it says Measure Information for. This is the SLO that my SLO coordinator wants me to assess. All right, and this is my workspace. These are text boxes, and in order for you to use them, you have to click inside the box. So the measure title is how did I assess the student's SLO? So in this particular case, for my class, I used a cognitive exam, and I mapped it to one question related to the methods of heat transfer, which correlates up here with my SLO assessment. Next, I entered my CRN, which would be a fictitious CRN, then the standard. So I would put something like this for my standard. 80% of the students will be able to correctly identify the methods of heat transfer. Next, I would type in my name, last name followed by first name. I'd go scroll down to the next box, click in it. Semester would be fall. The year would be 2024. And then I would apply my changes. All right, now I would check this back in. And now I'm going to go down and click on Findings. In order for me to input my findings of my assessment, I've got to go back up to the top. Right over here, this green box, I've got to check it out so nobody else can be in it but me at one time. And now I'm going to find my measure that I just inputted. And here it is. So I'm going to add my findings. And right here is you would type in a summary of your findings. And then I would type in how many students were proficient, how many students did not meet the standard. Then I would check the circle, whatever applies. So here, 80% of the students will be able to correctly identify the methods of heat transfer. It was met. Okay, now watch what happens when I try to submit this and I didn't fill in a box. You're going to get an error message at the top of the page right here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit OK, and I'm going to go back and I'm going to type my findings. This is just an example. And now I hit Submit, and I'm done. I'm going to check it back in. I'm not going to submit any comments. Going to go up here to the circle at the far right top of the screen with all the dots in it and hit Sign Out. And I'm done. I submitted my SLOs. So now what I want to do is I want to go down and show you an example of a completed SLO that I actually did for the fall 2024 semester. So I'm back here in my workspace. I'm going to go down and I'm going to find my class. I'm going to click on the measure. I'm going to check it out. I'm going to go down and find, so here's the actual one that I did. Now I'm going to hit the edit so you can see how I completed the fill-in boxes. So you can see right here is the SLO that my SLO coordinator wanted me to assess for this class. So I used a cognitive exam, methods of heat transfer. I mapped the SLO to an exam question. I entered the CRN number. I entered the proficiency standard. I entered my last name first, first name last. I entered the semester and the year, and I hit applied changes. Then I would scroll down. I would check this back in. Now I'm going to go back over to my findings, and I'll show you my actual findings. So I have to check out the page, scroll down to my assessment that I just completed. I want to hit edit so you can actually see what I put in the box. So you can see this is a summary of my findings. And you can see I'm pretty extensive on my summary. And I put the actual number of students that were proficient, the actual number of students that didn't meet the SLO, and then class proficiency status. So once again, I look at 80% of the students will be able to correctly identify the methods of heat transfer. Yes, I met this standard, the class did. So I clicked on the appropriate circle, showing that they met the standard. I hit submit, and I'm done. Then I'm going to check it back in so another instructor can get on here and put in their assessment. So what we covered today was how to access TaskStream, how to input your SLO assessment and findings. We discussed measure, we discussed findings, then I demonstrated how to input into the text boxes. I showed you how to check in and how to check out of your workspaces. And then as a review, I went back and showed you the SLO assessment that I just inputted prior to making this video. It's been a pleasure to be able to share my knowledge of TaskStream with my colleagues. I hope you find this helpful. If you have any questions, please feel free to email me at jbreakbill@riohondo.edu. This concludes the instructional video on TaskStream.